Hey guys, and welcome to this edition of Mr. Wood's awesome math class. So today we're going to be working at 30, 60, 90 triangles and the special right triangle and how that piece all works. So they're a little complicated, but not too bad when you follow some simple rules. So here we go. All right, so when we're talking about reference triangles, one of the things we're going to be looking at is, 30, 60, 90 is looking at a reference triangle. So across from the 30 or opposite the 30 is going to be an x. The hypotenuse will be 2 times x, and across from the 60 will be x square root 3. So we know those pieces. And here it's saying, all right, what are we talking about? Well, so we can say the shorter leg. So the shorter leg, I'm just going to write short. Well, I can write shorter. The shorter leg is across from the 30-degree angle. The longer leg, okay, is across from the 60-degree angle. So once again, so small, small, right? Big, big. The hypotenuse, I'm just going to write h by p, is across from the 90. Okay, so there's kind of some general setup. All right, so when we're working on this example, we have our reference. So the first thing is, let's look at our reference triangle. We know our reference triangle is 2x. If this is the 30 and this is the 60, I know that across from the 30 is x, and across from the 60 is x square root 3. So let's determine which one we've been given here. Well, if this is 60, that means that the opposite one would be 30, and across from the 30 is 6. So what was across from the 30? Well, across from the 30 is the x. So that means here x has got to equal 6. And now I can just start plugging in. Well, that's 6. If that's x, that means that the hypotenuse has got to be what? 2 times x. So the hypotenuse has got to be 2 times x. Well, x is 6, so 2 times 6 would make the hypotenuse 12. So here, this y value is 12. And this side, or this x side here, or the long leg here, and I'm just going to label this A so we don't get confused. So what is that? So across from the 60 says x square root 3. So this is supposed to be x times the square root of 3. Well, what's x? X is 6, so this would just be 6 square root 3. So that x piece here, or the answer, would be 6 square root 3, and that is the answer for example 1. All done. All right, example 2, once again, we got to, reference the reference triangle, right? So I like to just draw it out myself. So this is 2x. I know across from the 30 is x. Across from the 60 is x square root 3. And now we can just start labeling some pieces and figure out what side have we been given. Once again, we've been given the one that's across from the 30. Well, what's across from the 30 is x here, right? So that means here x, right? So has got to be 8. So in this scenario, the x would be 8, right? Because that's what's across from the 30. Well, what would the 2x be, the hypotenuse? Well, if I know x is 8, that means this is 2 times 8, or that would mean that this is 16. Okay, well, all we got to do is put in place here, just put what x is. So this would be then 8 square root 3. And that's all she wrote. So I know x is 16, the y is 8 square root 3, filling out the two pieces that we're trying to label, and done with example 2. All right, so now let's look at example 3 here. Well, which one have I been given now? Well, now I've been given the hypotenuse. So I can set that. So now what we do is really set that equal to, I'm going to say, well, that's 10 square root 7 has got to equal 2x, because this is our hypotenuse. So I'm going to set that equal to our reference triangle piece, and now just solve for x. So you would divide by 2, divide by 2. So that means the x has got to be 5 square root 7, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. So that means this piece, what's across from the 30? So what's across from the 30 has got to be 5 square root 7. What's across from the 60 has got to be what? Well, it's x times the square root of 3. Well, this one's a little tricky. So this has to be x times the square root of 3. And we know x is 5 square root of 7. So that would be 5 square root 7 times square root 3. Right? Because all I did was replace the x. Well, square root 7 times square root 3. When you have square roots, you just multiply them together. So this would be 5 square root 7 times 3, 21. So the y, so here the x is 5 square root 7. The y, or this piece would be 5 square root 21. And that is the answer for example 3. All right, so looking at example 4 here, right, going back to our reference triangle, 2x here. So I'm just going to make it look like this one. So I'm going to put the 30 down here and the 60 up there. So across from the 60, x square root 3. Across from the 30, x. Let's see which one we've been given. Well, we've been given the hypotenuse. So I know I can set that equal to my hypotenuse. So that means 2x has got to equal 13. Solving for x, divide by 2, divide by 2. So that means this x here, right, has got to be what? 13 over 2. So where does that look like? That's what's across from the 30. So what's across from the 30 has got to be 13 divided by 2, which you could make to 6.5 if you wanted to, but we're not going to do that. So then what's the only other piece? Well, we just got to plug that in. So we just got to, since we already know x, plug that in place of x. So what is x? Well, x is 13. So I got 13 over 2 times square root 3. Now I'm going to write that a little better and just put it both numerator, 13 square root 3 over 2. So that means this y would be 13 square root 3 divided by 2. And there is my answers for example 4. All done. Okay, so this one, the nice and easy one, is when you're given the short leg or across from the 30, you already know x. So if I know x is 15, I know that, right, we know the x, so I know this has got to be, so this has got to be 15. And we're just plugging that everywhere that I see the x, right? Everywhere that I see the x. So this one's got to be 2 times 15, so this has got to be 30. And there's that. So, and this has got to be what? The 15, and just adding on the square root 3. So we're just plugging that in place of x, which is here across from 60. So this is 15 square root 3. And look at that, how fast that was. We are done. Shit, did it again. All right, so example 5 here, look at our reference triangle. This is 2x, this is 30, this is 60. Well, I know across from the 60 is x square root 3, across from the 30 is x. So let's see which one we've been given. Well, look at that. We've been given the short leg, so I already know that x is 15. So now I just got to plug that in everywhere that I see the x, right? Nice and easy. So that means the hypotenuse has got to be 2 times x, or the hypotenuse would be 30. And if I plug the 15 and add the square root 3, that means this has got to be 15 square root 3. And look at that. Done and done. All right, so I want you to kind of try example 6 on your own. Okay, we'll talk about that one later, but try example 6 on your own. I do want to go to a couple of others here. Okay. In this first you try problem, you can pause the video at this point. So pause it and you try this one, right? So pause the video, try this one out, see if you can get it right. And then we're going to talk about the next you try because it's a little bit different, a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. So try this one, pause it, try it out. Okay, so there's our reference triangle. We know we've been given the 8, so that means the 8 is equal to 2x. So divide by 2, divide by 2, so the x here would be 4. So that means everywhere, right, everywhere we put an x, we got a 4. So that means this would be 4 square root 3, and this would mean this is 4, and there's our answers there for that problem. Hopefully you got that right. All right, the little trickier one is when you're given the long leg. Okay, so if you're given the long leg, it's a little trickier, but not too bad still. So this one, we're given the long leg here of 7. Well, we know a long leg is x square root 3. I know this is the short leg is x and the hypotenuse is 2x. Okay, so that means that the 7 would have to equal x square root 3. So that means to solve for x, we got to do what? Divide by the square root of 3. Well, that we can't use. So I'm going to get rid of this for a second, just to get it out of my way. Okay, so remember when we have a square root in the denominator, we can't keep that in the denominator, so we got to rationalize the denominator. So we got to get rid of it. So this would be 7 square root 3 divided by 3 is equal to x. Okay, so that means that this is 7 square root, so this is my x. 7 square root 3 divided by 3. Well, what would be the hypotenuse? Well, that means that, right, we know the hypotenuse is 2 times x. So since this is all x, it's going to be 2 times this whole mess, 7 square root 3. Oops. So 2 times 7 square root 3 over 3, which is just simply 2 times 7. So this is going to be 14 square root 3 divided by 3. And there is my answers, 14 square root 3 divided by 3 and 7 square root 3 divided by 3. So that one's a little trickier, not too bad. All right, try one more that's like that. All right, so the rest of them you can try on your own and finish that up, and good luck. See you guys on a later date. Have a great day. Bye.